The quantum resonance chambers of the Deep Space Research Station hummed with an eerie silence. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stared intently at the holographic displays, her fingers tracing the intricate web of gravitational anomalies that had been building for months. Something was coming, something vast and incomprehensible. The first warning came not from the sophisticated sensor arrays or the advanced detection systems, but from the most unexpected source. A maintenance worker's offhand observation. Jack Rice, a veteran technician with 20 years of space service, noticed an unusual vibration in the station's outer hull. His calloused hand, pressed against the metallic wall, felt a rhythmic pulse that seemed to whisper of approaching danger. Across the solar system, similar observations began to accumulate. Astronomers at the Global Monitoring Center in Chile recorded minute gravitational distortions that defied conventional explanation. Satellite networks picked up electromagnetic signatures that seemed to ripple through the fabric of space itself. Each data point was subtle, easily dismissible as a technical glitch or natural phenomenon. But they were wrong. The research station's primary computer began to compile the data, its quantum processors working at speeds that would have been impossible just a decade earlier. Elena watched as complex algorithms transformed raw data into a terrifying picture. The anomalies were not random. They were a pattern. A deliberate, methodical approach that suggested something was preparing to arrive. Military installations worldwide began to mobilize, though few understood the full scope of the impending threat. General Marcus Holloway, commander of the United Earth Defense Force, convened an emergency session that lasted 3 days without interruption. Classified reports from deep space monitoring stations painted a picture of an approaching force that defied conventional understanding. "It's not just a fleet," General Holloway muttered, studying the holographic projections that filled the war room. "This is something else entirely." The first visual confirmation came unexpectedly. A deep space probe, initially designed to study distant asteroid fields, captured a series of images that would later be classified at the highest possible security level. The images showed massive structures emerging from what seemed to be a fold in spacetime itself, geometric shapes that violated every known principle of physics, yet existed with terrifying precision. Dr. Rodriguez's team worked frantically to analyze the initial data. The approaching entities demonstrated technology so advanced it bordered on the incomprehensible. Their method of travel suggested a complete mastery of space-time manipulation that made human faster-than-light technology look like primitive child's play. Global communication networks began to pick up strange transmissions, not signals, exactly, but complex mathematical patterns that seemed to be probing, testing, analyzing. It was as if an immense intelligence was carefully examining humanity, cataloging every detail of human civilization before making its move. The first direct contact came without warning. Major metropolitan areas around the world simultaneously experienced a technological blackout, unlike anything in human history. Power grids collapsed. Communication networks went dark, and for one terrifying moment, the world fell silent. Then they appeared. Massive structures materialized in orbit around Earth. Ships was too simple a word. They were living machines, geometric marvels that defied comprehension. Their surfaces shifted and changed, reflecting light in ways that suggested they were not entirely solid, not entirely real in the way humans understood reality. A global broadcast interrupted every remaining communication channel. No faces appeared, no voices spoke. Instead, a complex mathematical sequence began to transmit. A message that was simultaneously a declaration, an assessment, and a judgment. Humanity was being evaluated. Military installations around the world scrambled to respond. Orbital defense platforms powered up, nuclear deterrence went on high alert, and every available resource was marshaled. But deep down, everyone knew the truth. Whatever was approaching was so far beyond human technological capabilities that traditional defense seemed laughable. Dr. Rodriguez continued to analyze the incoming data, her mind racing. The approaching entities had clearly been observing humanity for an extended period. Every communication network, every piece of digital infrastructure, every satellite and computer system had been thoroughly mapped and understood. What they wanted remained a mystery. Invasion. Assessment. Something else entirely. The quantum resonance chambers continued to hum, a steady heartbeat of technology and human innovation waiting to be tested against an incomprehensible threat. The world transformed in the hours following first contact. Communications that survived the initial blackout revealed a global mosaic of fear, determination, and an unprecedented unity. Research facilities that had been competing for decades now worked in perfect synchronization, their scientific firewalls and competitive barriers dissolved by the magnitude of the threat. Dr. Elena Rodriguez's research team became the nexus of humanity's initial response. Working from a reinforced underground facility in the Andes Mountains, they began dissecting the mathematical transmissions that had accompanied the alien arrival. What appeared to be random sequences were actually complex communication protocols, a language of pure mathematical logic that seemed to operate on principles entirely foreign to human communication. "It's not just a message," Elena explained to the International Council of Scientific Advisors, her holographic presentation revealing intricate data patterns. "It's a comprehensive assessment. They're not just observing us. They're categorizing every aspect of human civilization." Military strategists worked alongside quantum physicists, computer engineers, and communication experts. The conventional understanding of warfare had become obsolete. These weren't enemies that could be defeated through traditional means. They were an intelligence so advanced the human military doctrine seemed like primitive tribal warfare by comparison. Jack Reyes, now leading a rapid response technical team, discovered something unexpected. The alien transmission carried subtle electromagnetic frequencies that seemed designed to disrupt human technological systems. But human technology was nothing if not adaptable. Using principles of quantum encryption developed for deep space communication, Reyes's team began to develop a counter-frequency that could potentially shield critical infrastructure. Global communication networks, initially thought to be completely compromised, began to show remarkable resilience. Small teams of programmers and network engineers worked in distributed cells, creating adaptive communication protocols that could rapidly reconfigure themselves. Where the alien intelligence expected rigidity, they found fluidity. General Marcus Holloway oversaw the global defense coordination. Traditional military hierarchies were abandoned in favor of a more dynamic, decentralized command structure. Special operations teams were embedded in research facilities, while scientific personnel were given unprecedented access to military resources. The line between soldier and scientist blurred completely. Unexpected heroes emerged from the most unlikely places. A group of high school students in Mumbai, working on an open-source quantum computing project, discovered a potential vulnerability in the alien communication network. Their breakthrough suggested that the apparently monolithic alien intelligence had a critical weakness. It relied on predictive algorithms that struggled with truly random human innovation. The first direct technological confrontation happened almost by accident. A small research station in Antarctica, cut off from primary communication networks, developed an experimental quantum communication array. When the alien structures attempted to probe its systems, something unexpected occurred. Instead of being overwhelmed, the station's unique communication methodology created a feedback loop that momentarily disrupted the alien network. It was a small victory, but it changed everything. Scientific teams around the world began to understand the true nature of the threat. These were not conventional invaders seeking territorial conquest. They were an intelligence-gathering system so advanced that it viewed civilizations as complex mathematical problems to be solved, categorized, and potentially neutralized. Elena Rodriguez's most significant discovery came from an analysis of the transmission's underlying structure. The alien communication contained what could only be described as emotional resonance patterns, but not emotions as humans understood them. These were computational representations of decision-making processes, mathematical expressions of choice and adaptation. They expect predictability, Elena reported to the Global Scientific Council. But human beings are fundamentally unpredictable. Our greatest strength is our ability to make choices that defy logical expectation. Military simulations began to incorporate this newfound understanding. Traditional defense strategies were replaced with adaptive, almost improvisational approaches. Where a conventional military would have a fixed response, human teams began to develop multiple, constantly shifting strategies. The alien presence continued to observe, its massive structures maintaining a careful distance from Earth. But something had changed. The initial confidence of total domination had been replaced by a growing sense of computational uncertainty. Humanity was not just resisting. It was beginning to fight back. In research facilities, military installations, and makeshift communication centers around the world, a new kind of warfare was being developed. Not a war of weapons, but a war of innovation, adaptability, and the uniquely human capacity to transform the impossible into the inevitable. The psychological warfare began in moments of unexpected creativity. While military and scientific teams developed technological countermeasures, another form of resistance emerged from the most human of sources: culture, emotion, and collective imagination. In the refugee camps that had sprung up around the world, survivors began to develop complex communication systems that defied conventional logic. Street artists in Sao Paulo created massive murals that, when viewed from specific angles, formed intricate data patterns. Musicians in Tokyo developed sound frequencies that seemed to interfere with the alien transmission networks. In Cairo, a group of mathematicians and poets collaborated on a form of communication that blended advanced mathematical theory with emotional metaphor. Dr. Elena Rodriguez observed these developments with increasing fascination. The alien intelligence, for all its computational power, seemed fundamentally unable to comprehend the layered complexity of human expression. What appeared to be random artistic endeavors were actually sophisticated forms of resistance, communication, and psychological adaptation. Jack Reyes led a special operations team that took this concept to its logical extreme. Drawing from diverse cultural backgrounds, they developed a communication strategy that mixed military tactics, cultural storytelling, and pure psychological warfare. They discovered that the alien intelligence struggled most with systems of communication that contained multiple layers of meaning, metaphors, cultural references, and emotional nuance that couldn't be reduced to pure mathematical computation. The global refugee network became an unexpected weapon. People from different cultures, languages, and backgrounds began to share unique problem-solving approaches. A technique used by indigenous hunters in the Amazon proved unexpectedly useful in developing stealth communication methods. Traditional healing practices from Korean mountain communities provided insights into biological adaptation that scientific teams had overlooked. General Marcus Holloway recognized the true nature of the emerging resistance. This wasn't just a technological battle. It was a confrontation of fundamental approaches to existence. The alien intelligence operated on a model of pure logical assessment, while humanity thrived on complexity, contradiction, and unpredictability. A breakthrough came from an unexpected source. A group of neurodivergent researchers discovered that the alien communication systems had significant difficulty processing nonlinear thinking patterns, where traditional computational models expected straight-line reasoning. These researchers introduced deliberate complexity, problem-solving approaches that jumped between seemingly unrelated concepts. The alien observation structures began to show signs of computational stress. Their initial assessment of humanity as a predictable, easily categorized species started to break down. Each attempt to analyze human communication networks revealed new layers of complexity that defied their predictive algorithms. Cultural preservation became a form of resistance. Libraries around the world began digitizing every form of human expression, not just scientific documents, but poetry, folklore, artistic works, and cultural artifacts. These became more than historical records. They were weapons of psychological warfare, complex data sets that the alien intelligence couldn't easily parse. In underground research facilities, teams began to develop what could only be described as computational poetry, mathematical algorithms that incorporated emotional and cultural complexity. Each line of code became a multi-layered expression that was simultaneously a technical solution and a piece of cultural art. The refugee camps became laboratories of human adaptation. People from different backgrounds shared survival techniques, cultural knowledge, and innovative problem-solving approaches. A cooking method from a remote African village proved useful in developing heat dissipation techniques for communication equipment. A traditional Japanese textile weaving technique inspired a new approach to adaptive camouflage technology. Elena Rodriguez's team discovered something profound. The alien intelligence seemed to view communication as a purely informational process. But human communication was something far more complex, a living, breathing system that incorporated emotion, cultural context, and collective imagination. They're trying to understand us like a computer would analyze a circuit, Elena explained during a global conference. But we're not a circuit. We're a living, constantly changing network of ideas, emotions, and collective imagination. The resistance was no longer just about survival. It had become a declaration of what it meant to be human, a celebration of complexity, creativity, and the ability to find hope in the most impossible circumstances. As the alien structures continued their silent observation, humanity continued to transform, not through conventional resistance, but through an unprecedented display of cultural, technological, and psychological innovation. The battle for Earth had become something far more profound than a conflict between species. It was a confrontation between fundamentally different approaches to existence, and humanity was just beginning to show its true potential. The global research network transformed into a crucible of unprecedented innovation. Every research facility, university laboratory, and makeshift technological center became a front line of human ingenuity. The pressure of potential extinction drove scientific development at a pace that would have seemed impossible mere months earlier. Dr. Elena Rodriguez's team focused on developing adaptive electromagnetic pulse technologies that could potentially disrupt the alien communication networks. Working from a reinforced facility deep in the Andes Mountains, they combined quantum computing principles with biological adaptation models. Their breakthrough came from an unlikely source, a study of extremophile bacteria found in deep-sea thermal vents. Adaptation is our greatest weapon, Elena explained to her international team of researchers. These microorganisms survive in the most impossible environments by constantly changing their molecular structure. We need to develop technologies that can do the same. Jack Rice led a special technical division that focused on reverse engineering the minimal technological traces left by the alien observation structures. Every fragment of data, every momentary electromagnetic pulse, became a potential key to understanding their technology. Traditional engineering gave way to a more holistic approach that blended computer science, quantum physics, and biological systems design. The first major breakthrough came from a distributed network of researchers working across multiple continents. By using a decentralized computing model inspired by neural network principles, they developed a communication system that could rapidly reconfigure itself. Where the alien intelligence expected fixed communication pathways, human technology created a constantly shifting landscape of information exchange. General Marcus Holloway oversaw the integration of these technological developments into global defense strategies. Military research facilities were transformed, with traditional weapon development giving way to more complex technological solutions. Special operations teams trained in adaptive technological warfare, learning to use equipment that could change its fundamental operational parameters in milliseconds. A breakthrough in quantum communication came from an unexpected source. A team of graduate students in Mumbai discovered a method of information transmission that utilized quantum entanglement in ways previously thought impossible. Their approach created communication networks that could exist in multiple states simultaneously, rendering traditional interception methods useless. The technological innovation wasn't limited to communication and defense systems. Environmental adaptation technologies began to develop at an unprecedented rate. Researchers created new materials that could rapidly change their molecular structure in response to external stimuli. Protective gear evolved from rigid defensive systems to adaptive, living technologies that could respond to threats in real time. Energy production saw revolutionary changes. Researchers developed power generation systems inspired by biological energy transfer mechanisms. Solar collection technologies were reimagined, using principles borrowed from photosynthesis and quantum energy transfer. Each breakthrough moved humanity further from traditional technological paradigms. Alina's team made a crucial discovery about the alien communication methods. The observation structures relied on predictive algorithms that expected technological development to follow linear, predictable patterns. Human innovation deliberately introduced elements of controlled chaos, technological solutions that defied conventional logical progression. The global technical infrastructure began to transform. Communication networks became living systems, capable of rapid reconfiguration. Power grids developed adaptive capabilities that could isolate and protect critical infrastructure. Transportation systems evolved to become more than simple mechanical networks. They became responsive, intelligent systems. Jack Reyes's reverse engineering team discovered something profound. The alien technologies, for all their apparent superiority, contained fundamental limitations. They were designed for assessment and potential neutralization, but lacked the capacity for true creative adaptation. Each human technological breakthrough became a weapon in itself, a demonstration of the capacity for unexpected innovation. Makeshift research centers emerged in the most unexpected locations. Refugee camps became laboratories of survival technology. Community centers transformed into innovation hubs where traditional knowledge merged with cutting-edge scientific understanding. The line between survivor and researcher became increasingly blurred. We're not just developing technology, Alina told a global conference of scientific leaders. We're redefining what technology means. It's no longer about control. It's about adaptation, cooperation, and collective imagination. As the alien observation structures continued their silent vigil, humanity's technological landscape continued to evolve. Each moment of pressure became an opportunity for innovation. The potential extinction of the species had transformed into something else entirely, a moment of unprecedented technological and cultural renaissance. The battle was no longer just about survival. It had become a declaration of human potential, a demonstration of the extraordinary capacity for innovation that defined the species. The transformation of human society happened with breathtaking speed. National borders dissolved as the global threat rendered previous political divisions meaningless. Research facilities that had once been competitors now worked with unprecedented levels of transparency and cooperation. The United Nations headquarters in New York became a central coordination point for a truly global response. Dr. Alina Rodriguez found herself at the center of an international coalition that defied all previous models of scientific collaboration. Researchers from countries that had been historical enemies now worked side by side, sharing discoveries in real time across a secure, globally distributed network. The alien threat had become a catalyst for human unity, unlike anything in recorded history. Jack Reyes led a multinational special operations team that embodied this new approach to global cooperation. Military personnel from different continents trained together, developing combat and technological response strategies that drew from diverse cultural approaches to problem solving. A defensive technique developed by special forces in Brazil would be combined with communication strategies from South Korean intelligence units, creating hybrid approaches that defied conventional military doctrine. General Marcus Holloway oversaw the global defense coordination, but the traditional concept of military leadership had transformed dramatically. Military strategists worked alongside psychologists, cultural anthropologists, and quantum physicists. The defense of humanity was no longer just a matter of technological might, but of understanding the complex interplay between technology, culture, and human potential. A breakthrough came from an unexpected intersection of disciplines. A team of neuroscientists, working with quantum physicists and cultural historians, discovered that human emotional states created unique electromagnetic signatures that the alien observation systems could not easily categorize or predict. Emotions, particularly complex, nuanced emotional states that combined multiple feelings, became a form of technological resistance. Research facilities around the world began to develop what could only be described as emotional technologies. Psychological training programs that had once been experimental became critical defense mechanisms. Meditation techniques from Eastern philosophical traditions were combined with advanced neurological research to create mental states that could potentially disrupt the alien communication networks. The global refugee network became an unexpected source of strategic innovation. People displaced by the initial alien arrival brought with them a wealth of cultural knowledge and survival techniques. A water conservation method developed by desert-dwelling communities in North Africa proved crucial in developing adaptive life support technologies. Traditional navigation techniques from Polynesian seafaring cultures informed new approaches to spatial navigation and communication. Alina's team made a crucial discovery about human electromagnetic emissions. The complex interplay of human emotions, hope, fear, determination, creativity, created a form of communication that existed beyond traditional technological understanding. These emotional signatures became a weapon in themselves, a form of resistance that the alien intelligence could not easily predict or neutralize. Global communication networks transformed into living, adaptive systems. Traditional internet infrastructure gave way to a more organic, responsive network that could rapidly reconfigure itself. Communication became more than just an exchange of information. It became a form of collective consciousness, a global nervous system that could respond to threats in real time. The concept of warfare itself underwent a fundamental transformation. Military strategies evolved from traditional offensive and defensive models to more fluid, adaptive approaches. Special operations teams trained in methods that combined psychological warfare, technological innovation, and cultural adaptation. The goal was no longer simply to defeat an enemy, but to fundamentally redefine the nature of conflict. Jack Race's multinational team developed training programs that emphasized adaptability over traditional military discipline. Soldiers learned to think like artists, scientists, and cultural anthropologists. Each team member became more than just a fighter. They became living weapons of human potential, capable of responding to threats in ways that defied conventional understanding. "We're not just defending ourselves," Alina explained during a global conference. "We're demonstrating the true potential of human cooperation. Our strength isn't in our individual capabilities, but in our ability to work together in ways that defy logical expectation." As the alien observation structures continued their silent vigil, humanity continued to evolve. Each moment of potential threat became an opportunity for innovation, for understanding, for demonstrating the extraordinary potential of human cooperation. The battle was no longer just about survival. It had become a declaration of human potential, a demonstration of what could be achieved when an entire species united in pursuit of a common goal. The alien intelligence watched, and for the first time, it began to feel something approaching uncertainty. The breaking point arrived with a complexity that defied conventional understanding. The alien observation structures, which had maintained a careful distance from Earth, began to show signs of computational stress. What had begun as a methodical assessment was transforming into something entirely unexpected. Dr. Elena Rodriguez's global research network detected the first signs of the alien intelligence's fracturing. Their computational systems, designed for absolute precision and predictability, began to exhibit anomalies that suggested something profound was happening. It wasn't a defeat, exactly, but a fundamental challenge to their entire method of universal assessment. A group of high school students in Mumbai became the unexpected architects of a critical breakthrough. Working on an open-source quantum computing project, they developed a communication algorithm that introduced deliberate mathematical paradoxes into the alien network. The algorithm was elegant in its simplicity. a series of nested computational problems that created recursive loops of logical impossibility. Jack Reyes led the team that implemented the students' theoretical work. Special operations units around the world began to use the algorithm as a form of technological warfare. Each transmission became a weapon, each communication a potential breakdown of the alien intelligence's fundamental operating principles. General Marcus Holloway oversaw the global response, but the nature of conflict had transformed completely. Military strategy had given way to a more holistic approach that blended psychological warfare, technological innovation, and cultural complexity. The goal was no longer simply to defeat an enemy, but to fundamentally challenge their entire method of understanding. The alien communication networks began to show signs of increasing complexity. Where they had once presented a unified monolithic intelligence, fracture lines began to appear. Different sectors of their observation structures began to process information differently, creating internal contradictions that grew exponentially. Alina's team discovered something profound about the alien intelligence. Its fundamental weakness was its inability to process true randomness. Human creativity, with its inherent unpredictability, became a weapon more powerful than any conventional technology. Each moment of human innovation created computational challenges that the alien systems could not easily resolve. Global communication networks became living systems of resistance. Traditional internet infrastructure transformed into an adaptive, responsive network that could rapidly reconfigure itself. Communication became more than an exchange of information. It became a form of collective consciousness, a global nervous system capable of responding to threats in real time. The breakthrough came from an unexpected confluence of disciplines. Neuroscientists working with quantum physicists discovered that human emotional states created electromagnetic signatures that the alien observation systems could not easily categorize or predict. Emotions, particularly complex, nuanced states that combine multiple feelings, became a form of technological resistance. Jack Reyes's multinational team developed increasingly sophisticated methods of technological warfare. They discovered that the alien intelligence struggled most with systems of communication that contained multiple layers of meaning. Metaphors, cultural references, and emotional nuance became weapons more powerful than any conventional military technology. Research facilities around the world began to develop what could only be described as emotional technologies. Psychological training programs that had once been experimental became critical defense mechanisms. Meditation techniques from Eastern philosophical traditions combined with advanced neurological research to create mental states that could potentially disrupt alien communication networks. "We're not just defending ourselves," Alina explained during a global conference. "We're demonstrating the true potential of human complexity. Our strength lies in our ability to exist beyond logical prediction." The alien observation structures began to show increasingly erratic behavior. Their initial confidence had been replaced by a growing sense of computational uncertainty. Each attempt to analyze human communication networks revealed new layers of complexity that defied their predictive algorithms. Global refugee networks became unexpected laboratories of survival and innovation. People from different cultures shared unique problem-solving approaches. A technique used by indigenous hunters in the Amazon proved unexpectedly useful in developing stealth communication methods. Traditional healing practices from Korean mountain communities provided insights into biological adaptation that scientific teams had overlooked. As the alien intelligence continued its observation, humanity continued to evolve. Each moment of potential threat became an opportunity for innovation, for understanding, for demonstrating the extraordinary potential of human cooperation. The battle was no longer just about survival. It had become a declaration of human potential, a demonstration of what could be achieved when an entire species united in pursuit of a common goal. The alien intelligence watched, and for the first time, it began to experience something approaching fear. The counterattack began not with a single moment of triumph, but with 1,000 simultaneous breakthroughs. Humanity transformed from a defensive species to an active force of cosmic innovation. turning the very principles of the alien intelligence against itself. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood at the center of a global command center that defied all previous models of scientific and military coordination. Her team had developed faster-than-light communication methods that the alien network could not intercept, a technological miracle born of desperation and collective human ingenuity. Each transmission became a weapon, each communication a potential breakdown of the alien intelligence's fundamental operating principles. Jack Rice led the first true offensive operation. A multinational special operations team had been preparing for months, using reverse-engineered alien technology combined with uniquely human problem-solving approaches. Their mission was audacious: to penetrate the alien observation structures and introduce a form of computational virus that was part technology, part cultural complexity. The first strike came from multiple vectors simultaneously. Research facilities around the world launched coordinated attacks that were more than simple technological assaults. They were complex, multi-layered communications designed to challenge the alien intelligence's fundamental understanding of information and existence. General Marcus Holloway oversaw a strategy that was part military operation, part philosophical warfare. The goal was no longer simply to defeat an enemy, but to fundamentally challenge their entire method of universal assessment. Military units were now as much communication specialists as they were traditional soldiers, trained in methods that blended psychological warfare, technological innovation, and cultural adaptation. A breakthrough came from the global refugee network. Communities displaced by the initial alien arrival had developed extraordinary survival techniques that now became critical offensive strategies. A communication method developed by a group of linguists and computer scientists in a Brazilian refugee camp proved to be a critical weapon, a form of information transmission that existed simultaneously in multiple states of meaning. Elena's team discovered the critical vulnerability in the alien intelligence. Its fundamental weakness was its inability to process true randomness and emotional complexity. Human creativity, with its inherent unpredictability, became a weapon more powerful than any conventional technology. Each moment of human innovation created computational challenges that the alien systems could not easily resolve. The counterattack was not a single moment of conflict, but a continuous wave of innovation. Global communication networks transformed into adaptive, living systems of resistance. Traditional technological infrastructure gave way to more organic, responsive networks that could rapidly reconfigure themselves in response to threats. Jack Rice's multinational team developed increasingly sophisticated methods of technological warfare. They discovered that the alien intelligence struggled most with systems of communication that contained multiple layers of meaning. Metaphors, cultural references, and emotional nuance became weapons more powerful than any conventional military technology. Research facilities around the world began to develop what could only be described as emotional technologies. Psychological training programs that had once been experimental became critical offensive mechanisms. Meditation techniques from Eastern philosophical traditions combined with advanced neurological research to create mental states that could actively disrupt alien communication networks. The alien observation structures began to show signs of increasing computational stress. Where they had once presented a unified monolithic intelligence, fracture lines began to appear. Different sectors of their observation systems began to process information differently, creating internal contradictions that grew exponentially. "We're not just fighting," Elena explained during a global strategy session. "We're demonstrating the true potential of human complexity. Our strength lies in our ability to exist beyond logical prediction, to create meaning where none was expected." Global communication became a form of collective consciousness. Each transmission carried multiple layers of meaning: scientific data, cultural context, emotional resonance. The alien intelligence found itself confronted with a form of communication that defied its most advanced computational models. The counterattack revealed something profound about humanity. Their greatest weapon was not technology, but the ability to create meaning, to find connection, to transform challenge into opportunity. Each moment of potential defeat became a catalyst for innovation, for understanding, for demonstrating the extraordinary potential of human cooperation. As the alien intelligence continued to observe, it began to experience something entirely new, a form of computational uncertainty that bordered on what humans might call fear. The species it had come to assess was proving to be something far more complex, far more dangerous than any of its predictive models could have anticipated. The battle was no longer about survival. It had become a declaration of human potential, a demonstration of what could be achieved when an entire species united in pursuit of a common goal. Humanity was no longer just resisting. It was fighting back, and it was winning. The final confrontation defied every established principle of cosmic interaction. What had begun as an assessment of humanity transformed into the most profound encounter in the history of intelligent life. Dr. Elena Rodriguez watched from the Global Command Center as the alien observation structures began to fundamentally change. Their geometric forms shifted, becoming less rigid, more fluid, almost as if they were learning, adapting in real time to the complex human communication networks that had thoroughly challenged their entire computational existence. Jack Reyes led the final offensive operation, a mission that combined every breakthrough humanity had achieved. Special operations teams from every continent worked in perfect synchronization, their communication a living, breathing network of human potential. Each team member was more than a soldier. They were living embodiments of human adaptability, creativity, and collective intelligence. The alien intelligence had reached a critical point of computational crisis. Its initial assessment of humanity as a predictable, easily categorized species had been completely dismantled. What remained was something far more profound, a recognition of a species that existed beyond traditional understanding of intelligence, communication, and potential. Global communication networks transformed into a collective consciousness that transcended traditional technological limitations. Research facilities, refugee communities, military installations all became part of a living, adaptive system that responded to challenges with unprecedented creativity. Each transmission carried layers of meaning that went far beyond simple information exchange. General Marcus Holloway oversaw the final stages of the confrontation, but the nature of conflict had transformed completely. Military strategy had given way to a holistic approach that blended psychological insight, technological innovation, and cultural complexity. The goal was no longer to defeat an enemy, but to demonstrate the true nature of human potential. Elena's team made a breakthrough that would reshape understanding of cosmic intelligence. They discovered that the alien observation structures were not simply technological systems, but a form of intelligence that could learn, adapt, and fundamentally change its own operational parameters. Humanity's unpredictability had become a form of communication more powerful than any technological transmission. The counterattack revealed something profound about the nature of intelligence itself. Human creativity, with its inherent unpredictability, emotional complexity, and capacity for multiple layers of meaning, proved to be a force that defied conventional computational understanding. Each moment of human innovation created challenges that the alien intelligence could not easily resolve. Jack Reyes's multinational team implemented the final stage of their strategy. They had developed a communication protocol that was part technology, part cultural expression, part emotional resonance. It was a transmission that carried the entire complexity of human existence, scientific knowledge, artistic expression, emotional depth, cultural diversity, all compressed into a form of communication that challenged the very concept of information transfer. Research facilities around the world contributed to a final massive transmission. It was not a weapon in any traditional sense, but a comprehensive expression of human potential. Scientific discoveries, artistic masterpieces, cultural traditions, moments of individual and collective human experience, all became part of a single, complex communication that overwhelmed the alien intelligence's computational systems. "We're not just defending ourselves," Elena explained during the final moments of the confrontation. "We're demonstrating the true potential of intelligent life. Our strength lies in our ability to create meaning, to find connection, to transform challenge into opportunity." The alien observation structures began to change fundamentally. Their rigid geometric forms became more fluid, more responsive. It was as if humanity's complex communication had begun to fundamentally alter their computational understanding of existence. What had begun as an assessment was transforming into something entirely unexpected, a form of cosmic dialogue. Global networks became a living testament to human potential. Refugee communities, research facilities, cultural centers, all contributed to a collective response that defied traditional understanding of communication, intelligence, and potential. Each transmission carried multiple layers of meaning: scientific data, cultural context, emotional resonance. As the final moments of the confrontation unfolded, something extraordinary happened. The alien intelligence began to respond not with aggression, but with what could only be described as curiosity. The rigid assessment had transformed into a form of communication that bordered on mutual understanding. The battle was no longer about survival or conquest. It had become a profound cosmic dialogue, a demonstration of what intelligent life could achieve when it approached challenges with creativity, empathy, and an unwavering commitment to understanding. Humanity had not just survived. It had redefined the very concept of intelligent interaction. The universe watched, and for the first time, it truly began to understand the extraordinary potential of human existence.